What's going on, guys? Welcome into the show. We got some major changes that the Baltimore Ravens are making to their coaching staff to get to in just a second. Before we get into today's content, I need to give a shout out to our sub battle we've been doing all January long with our Steelers Talk channel. We're only a couple days until February, only a couple days until this battle is over, and we're only down 14 subscribers. Help me beat our Steelers Talk channel. Help me take down the Steelers channel right here at Chat Sports by hitting that sub button. I promise you're not going to regret it. Daily Ravens content every day for the rest of eternity. So if you're not a part of the family right now, join us. So it became official as of last night. The Baltimore Ravens are mutually parting ways with assistant head coach and pass game coordinator Chris Hewitt. They agreed to both break up with each other, right? They both said, it's not you, it's me, and they've mutually parted ways. Tom Pelissero was the initial one to report this, and then all the guys, Jeff Strayback, Jonas Schaefer, all the other beat writers talked about it all last night. And that's what we're talking about on today's show. And this is pretty significant, right? This is a pretty big change because it's a face that's been in the building for a very long time, right? Hewitt has been on staff. He's been with Baltimore since 2012, right? When you're John Harbaugh, when you are a head coach and you've got one guy on your staff for that long, and then you both agree to part ways, it's obviously you weren't seeing eye to eye, and it's obvious that things might have just grown stale. But this is going to be a big change for Harbaugh. This is going to be a big change for Zach Orr. This is going to be a big change for this team in general, because for the last 13 years, the last 12 years, this guy has been there on the practice field. This guy's been there on the sidelines. This guy's been there in the meeting room. And now he's not going to be. My initial takeaway from this is I wasn't necessarily super surprised, though. I think with the news that came on from Chuck Pagano being added to the staff, Chuck Pagano being a now senior secondary coach, I don't want to say the writing was on the wall for Chris Hewitt. I don't want to say when I heard that yesterday that I automatically thought, okay, Hewitt's probably gone. However, with the Hewitt news coming out, after the Chuck Pagano news coming out, you kind of get that light bulb moment where you're like, okay, this makes a little bit more sense, okay? My thought on this, just in totality, I think this can be a pretty good thing for Zach Orr, if I'm being totally honest with you, okay? Zach Orr, like we talked about a lot on yesterday's show, is still incredibly young. Only 31 years old. He'll be 32 this year. Just finished his first season as the defensive coordinator for this Baltimore Ravens football team. And I think that for a 31-year-old guy who's still in a new role, I think this can be a really good thing. Okay, Chris Hewitt had been there forever. He'd been there since 2012, right? He was the old grizzled vet. And Zach Orr was the new guy coming in, and I don't want to say trying to make a name for himself, but trying to figure out how this thing works. And I don't want to say Chris Hewitt was hurting his development, but when you've got a guy in there that's been there for so long and knows everything there is to know about a single franchise, and you've got a new guy who's his boss, technically, with Zach Orr being the defensive coordinator, it's easy to see that those things might not necessarily mesh well together. And I just think this is going to be a good thing for Zach Orr to, I don't want to say get more of his guys in there, but just see some more fresh faces, right? Zach Orr took over that defensive coordinator role, yet had to be, and had to be, I don't want to say the boss of, but had to hold status over a guy who'd been there for 13 years in Chris Hewitt. And Chris Hewitt last year got defensive coordinator looks, right? And I'm sure this year is going to be the exact same. I'm sure he's going to find a job very quickly. But I think for Zach Orr, for a young defensive coordinator who's still developing, I think this can be a really good thing. We talked about what Chuck Pagano can bring, just a little bit more veteran, I guess, presence. And not saying Chris Hewitt wasn't, but it's going to be a new face. It's going to be a fresh face for Zach Orr, right? It's going to be a guy that I'm sure John Harbaugh ran through Zach Orr with inviting Pagano to be on this staff, okay? Speaking of Zach Orr, I need you to do something in the comment section down below for me. Grade his 2024 performance. Give me an A, B, C, D, or F. If I was given a grade for the entirety of it, Honestly, I'd say B+. I thought he brought it together very well. If you would have asked me after week 10, I'd have given it an F. But after this season ended, how this defense started to perform, give it a little bit better of a grade. You let me know down below. Before we get into the rest of the content on today's show, I got a few more thoughts to share with you guys. I got to share and talk about our sponsor over at Prize Picks. And the big game, ladies and gentlemen, is almost here, and it's now or never. So don't miss out on the last game of the season with Prize Picks. It's the best place to win cash while watching the big game. Prize Picks is also giving away a free pick for the big game, where one of the starting quarterbacks will only need to throw 1 yard to win. If you're correct on at least one more stat projection, you can win real cash. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need a win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. You can now win up to 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks. Check out the promos tab to tail any of our Super Sweat, mid-league winners, big game lineups. If you tail a lineup that goes 3 for 3, you can win a split of $1 million in promo funds. And guys, I talked about what they're giving away for that Super Bowl. It's a big game free pick, right? All Patrick Mahomes has to do is throw for 1 passing yard, and that square will win. So go and take advantage of that right now, because you just got to correct it, or you just got to pair it with one other correct pick. So if you know ball, you could be winning some big cash during the big game. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play just $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play just $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. The link to this promo is in the comments and description of today's video. Prize Picks, run your game. So we talked a lot all season long about how much this team kind of struggled with the pass. And they ended the year 27th total against the pass, a bottom 6 unit, if you will. And so I think, honestly, just based on that alone, it might have been time for the staff to move on for Hewitt. I think this is a really good time. You bring in Chuck Pagano. I think this is another really good time for John Harbaugh to go make a hire and make it a younger, newer face, right? I think newer and younger faces in this building could be a positive, right? You've had John Harbaugh there for 17 years. Okay, Eric DeCosta, he hasn't been the GM for that long, but he's been with this organization for a very long time. And while consistency is a great thing, it also can grow tiresome at times. And I think a fresh face, a new look, and a new perspective on things can be really helpful when it comes to a new defensive coordinator, okay? Hewitt was not the only departure over the last couple weeks, right? The inside linebackers coach, Mark DeLeon, he over this past weekend, I believe it was on Saturday, maybe even Sunday, him and this staff parted ways. And I think when you look at the development of Trenton Simpson, I think that can give a lot of reason to why that decision may have been made. Okay, Trenton Simpson came into this year, and he was going to be the guy that filled in for Patrick Queen. He was going to be Roquan Smith's right-hand man. And after about 7, 8, 9 weeks, his snaps were cut in half. And then at the end of the year, he was barely playing. Okay, you had Malik Harrison out there. Malik Harrison was great. Malik Harrison did great. But also, you came into the year and you had really high hopes for a guy who didn't really pan out. And a lot of times, I think that goes back to coaching. So overall, I think with Hewitt and DeLeon, with them taking a, departure from this program, from this franchise, I think this is just a really good time to bring in somebody. Zach Orr wants to be in there, someone young, someone new, someone fresh, okay? And overall, I like the direction that this defense is heading. We talked about it yesterday. I think this defense has some core guys on it with Marlon Humphrey in the secondary, Nate Wiggins, Kyle Hamilton. I think that Ardarius Washington, Travis Jones, Roquan Smith. There's a ton of great core members there. You just got to strengthen around it a little bit. Okay, Brandon Stephens is going to test free agency. Who can you bring in to fulfill that Brandon Stephens role? I think you target defense big in the draft with a pass rusher and a cornerback, or big in free agency. But no matter what, you got to bring in some pieces. But where the core is, who the core 6 guys are, I love that. Okay, I absolutely love that, and I love the direction this team's headed with Zach Orr at the helm. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. It was a graphics light show. Try to get this one out as quickly as I could this morning, get it on the platform as fast as I could so you guys can watch it, stay up to date with everything Baltimore Ravens. To make sure you never miss a moment on your favorite team, go ahead, hit that sub button.